everyone, my name is Jarek. I'm one of the founding members of Make Poland Queer Again movement, and I had an honor to meet some of the legends of Gay Liberation Front over the last couple of years while planning their 50th anniversary, which happened last year. While during the events, when we as Polish queers in London, we learned that there is such a beautiful connection between Gay Liberation Front and Polish queer history, we couldn't let it go amiss. We had to do something, and today we are really happy, despite the COVID pandemic and despite all the turmoil which is happening in the world and in Europe. We're happy to be a part of this amazing commemorative event, which shows us the very early international connections of gay liberation, both in the UK, US, and in Poland. When we learned that Bob Mellors travels to Poland in the 90s to explore the queer lives of people living in the former Eastern Bloc, we were first surprised that someone had courage to go there at the time, and that courage and that was an inspiration for us to create a movement of queers and women rights activists to make Poland queer again and make Poland friendly for everyone. You know, intersectional solidarity is such an important thing for us. So later this year, we're planning to have a group of solidarity buses from UK and all over Europe to travel to Polish Pride events and to spread queer love and solidarity. But today, we're really honored to be a part of the commemoration of the 25th anniversary of tragic death of Bob Mellors. So follow us for the updates on Make Poland Queer Again. We would like to thank the Dome in London for giving us the space, this beautiful space, super queer, super glittery. Thank you so much for having us, and let's make Poland queer again in memory of Bob Mellors. Thank you.
Rory, standing next to me, is going to read from correspondence from England and from Warsaw concerning Bob. One of them is a letter from Bob's mother, which is heartrending, and another is just an easygoing, chatty excerpt from one of his letters from Warsaw. Rory!
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, so I have two letters to read. The first one is the letter from Mary and Fred Mellors, Mary being Bob's mum and Fred Bob's dad. So this was a letter written to Andrew on the 17th of September in 1996. They finally held the inquest into Bob's death on September the 6th, which proved an ordeal. We knew of the multiple stab wounds, but not of the beating he received around the head, and that his elbows were broken, presumably as he tried to protect himself. The coroner said it was one of the worst attacks he had ever known and brought in a verdict of unlawful killing, and that he died from hemorrhagic shock. They're keeping in touch through Interpol so that they know what happens when the young man is brought to trial. I said that I was not very concerned about that. This was after the official side had been dealt with and the coroner came across to speak to us personally, as nothing could bring Bob back and punishing would not help us. The coroner was very firm in his belief that he needed locking up so that he couldn't do it to anyone else. And I must say, put like that, it does make sense, because I should hate for anyone to go through what Bob went through. Once again, thank you very much for your sympathy and kindness. We felt very privileged to share in the meeting in Bob's memory and would have liked to speak to everyone personally there, but there were so many and so few that we'd met previously, it was hard to take it all in. With love and best wishes, Mary and Fred Mellors. And then the second letter that I've got to read is a letter from Bob, or an excerpt from a letter from Bob when he was in Warsaw that he wrote to Andrew on the 21st of January in 1995. They're thinking of holding a gay pride march here next year. They solicited opinions in the gay press. Do you think it's a good idea? If so, would you go on it? Do you think it's a bad idea? If so, why? To me, it was astonishing that anyone would solicit people's views rather than crashing on ahead willy-nilly. But the gay press is the only flourishing part of modern gay life here. When we did those things, there wasn't any of that. Anyhow, my life here seems to have completed a sort of cycle. When I first came here, my naivety protected me from a lot of worries, and I actually didn't fare too badly. I look back fondly on those carefree days. Then the petty and not so petty thefts started to get me down, and it's got to the point where I wonder whether it's worth admitting all of those sorts of boys in at all. But of course, it's precisely that sort of boy who is the most willing and who also has a certain kind of pluck and glamour. At the moment, I'm waiting for the next cycle, whatever that will be, to begin. So, you're back with your nudes. I wonder what became of your book. You're right, Warsaw is iced with a layer of dry snow. But although there's no icy damp wind to smack you around the chops, it still feels like weather for staying indoors. I have in mind to come back for a visit in July, which of course is hopeless for you. I was even thinking of asking if I could borrow your flat, but it sounds as though I might be better off camping out at Peter Moore's. Remember me to Sheila. Love, Bob. So there you go, 2 letters, one from Bob's mum and then a lovely bit from Bob to Andrew.
And I've been a Polish activist for about 5 years, and the reason I wanted to say a few words today is because, as I'm sure a lot of you know, the issues that are going on in Poland at the moment with queer rights being endangered and queer people being violated and targeted are not a standalone issue. It comes on the back of 5 years of hate by the ruling party, by the right-wing ruling party. Last year, we were privileged, I guess, during the summer to actually be able to get out and protest. And one of the protests that we had outside the Polish embassy was called I Am Human, because our president, the Polish president, has claimed that queer people are something less than human, or ideology rather than people. And so there was this massive wave of protests, again, across Poland, in solidarity with queer communities, with queer people. But that was just the most recent wave. You know, they started 5 years ago, and they straight away attacked women's rights. They attacked the right to choose, the right to have a sexual education, which wasn't so well known because all the press was around abortion, but that it was also about sexual education, it was also about contraception, it was basically about bodily autonomy. They don't like that, the ruling party in Poland. And I think another important thing is to understand is that the framing that they use, the language that they use, the gender disease from Brussels, as they call the LGBT community now, they call feminists that as well. They call women that as well when we ask for the right to choose, for the right to have autonomy over our own body. So I think it's really important to connect all those dots and to connect in solidarity and to create a really powerful movement. And that's why, like Jarek said, we're planning to, hopefully in the summer, we'll see how it goes, because it's just, the third wave is just beginning in Poland now, so we'll see how it goes. But if everything goes well, we're going to Poland, we're going to be proud, we're going to be queer. We've spoken to a lot of people on the ground in Poland already, and they told us that they want us to bring pride to Poland, because in Poland what they say is they call pride parades equality parades. Do we want equality? Equality with what? Especially in the context of what's going on in Poland. Not to mention here as well, I mean, it's the same as well. It's the same here, you know, neoliberalism has taken over the agenda. I don't want equal rights. I want to be able to be whoever I want, and the definition of who I am and how I am is perhaps not even invented yet, because we're all human, we're all developing, we're all individuals who just want to be left alone and freedom to enjoy their lives and not have to fight for basic rights, and let alone freedom. Freedom is something that we still have to imagine.